Hello, and welcome to the last part of the barn owl. I hope you're enjoying this so far. I certainly am. It's been a while since I've done watercolours, but you know, it's just one of those things. Now then, I'm just going to touch up a little bit on the white gouache, because like I said, as it's dried, the problem with gouache is that it is opaque, but the colour isn't as vibrant, so it can be quite faded. So I just want to make sure that I have got as much on this as I need for the white sections. There we go. Okay. And also, I think I may need to just touch up slightly, looking at this section. Here, around this, around where the beak is, I'm just going to put in a few more shadow tones, and here as well, where it's got a little bit more of a shadow here. So once it's dried and you take another look at it, then you know you will find that there will be sections that, but everybody's will be different. It all depends on what sort of section you feel you need to do some more work on, and what other people feel like they need to do work on. So there you have it. Everybody's is going to be slightly different. So I'm just re-evaluating some of these areas there that I need to touch upon. Okay, so that's looking a little bit better. I'm just going to soften in some of these edges, what I've just done. Glazing over with some clear water. Okay, that's fine. I'm quite happy with that. As I say, it's not an absolute, it's not photorealistic, but it is a realism picture of an owl. I don't want too much detail in it. I just want enough to give you that, because an owl has an air of mystery about it anyway. We have been watching a couple of nesting owls across from where we're living at the moment, and I've got them on video when they were feeding the young, and it was a pleasure to sit and watch them at night and how they come, and you know, they're watching around for predators, but the wingspan on them, and when they fly fairly low, and their hunting skills are absolutely unbelievable, and it is a pleasure to watch them. They're such an elegant bird. To say they're quite big and hefty, but they are an elegant bird, and it's a shame that, you know, they're struggling at the minute in the wild, you know, with the pesticides and the poison that gets into the mice and the voles what they catch, that we're losing, you know, we're still losing these beautiful birds. So, you know, I'll do anything I can to help preserve them. So, you know, giving people information about the birds is one way. So, you know, but they're an enjoyable bird to paint and draw as well. Okie dokie, so we're on the final part. So we've done the disc and the head. So now we're just going to do this body. Now I'm going to sort of vignette it away a little bit. I'm not going to be doing, so the detail on this body isn't going to be absolutely perfect. So what I'm doing is I'm putting on, I'm going to actually wet it. So I'm going to wet the whole area here. So I'm going to go back up into where some of this area what we've already done. Okay, and I'm going to wet it, and I'm going to wet further down than where I'm going to finish. And that's just so that it can go away. It can fall away sort of elegantly and without any hard edges, hopefully. Okay, so I'm not using a very big brush. I'm only using the number 4. This isn't a big size. I think the line drawing that you'll get on the tutorial is actually A4, so it's slightly bigger than this. So you can put more detail in if you want. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a very pale, warmish grey. in sections here. Again, following the form of the feathers, and you're going to get quite a bit of shadow underneath this disc area, so that's where the darker colour is going to be. And looking on this bird particularly, its feathers are actually moving, so it must be the way it's stood. It's actually getting quite a lot of the feathers are actually running in this direction. Okay, so, and then these ones actually turn that way and there. All this here, this area here is a white, so I'm just going to do it as an off, so it's a grey. And then we've got a darker section here where we've got some shadows, and then we've got these coloured sections as well. We've got some off-white here. I'm just going to darken this grey up slightly now. And I'm actually going to add a bit more around here and pull it out in the direction. So we've got more shadow underneath. Okay, so again, these are just base layers. Then we let them dry. I'm just putting in now where I think the slightly darker areas are going to be. Okay, a bit darker area up there. This dark area comes all the way down here. Okay. Then with some dark patches just along here. And then, like I say, we've got this dark, very dark patch here, which is where, this is where the shadow is from where the wing part is. So I'm just going to put that in there. And we've got some bits here that are, and down here that are darker on this wing here, underneath that wing. Okay, so now I'm just going to clean the brush off, and now I'm just going to soften some of these areas in. I mean, they will soften in mainly on their own anyway, because of I've done it on a wet on wet basis, so they will soften in mainly themselves as well. Trying to get that dark bit there under that shadow area of the bird. Okay, so while that's drying, it shouldn't take too long. As I say, I'm in the studio and it's quite warm, so so then what we've got to look at is we've got partial bits of the wing here and on this side as well. So that's the dark shadow I put in there. Then we've got this bit of darker shadow here, which I can darken in a bit, and we've got some white areas here. So now we need to mix up. So you can see the disc area now is becoming a little bit more prominent. I'm just going to soften in that bit there a little bit more. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to mix up some of these darker colours that we've got for the wings, which we should already have, the what we've used before. So as I say, I've used more burnt umber, I think, this time, than, because it is more of an umber base than a burnt sienna, which is a bit reddier. It's got a bit more red in it. So what I'm going to do, while it's still workable, I'm actually just going to put the base layer, very light base layer on, of where these colours are going to go. So we've got a feather that comes down that way, one there, and then that one there, and then these go into, I've got a bit of a white area there. Okay, so I'm just putting in the nice base layers there for that side, and then also on this side, which are going to come down here. Bit more of a definite line on this side, but even so, I'm gonna, and it's a bit dark because it's going around the corner, so I'm just going to soften these edges in slightly. Okay, and then they'll just vignette out there Same here. Okie dokie. And then just a touch more of that grey where I can see the darker shadows pulling up into there and there. And then that darker shadow there. And we've actually got a bit of the grey down this side right on the edge. So I'm just going to put that on top of that where that brown is, just so that you can see it. And also on this side here. So it's still got that sheen on it, so I can still work on it. If you lose the sheen, all you have to do is wait for it to completely dry, re-wet it, and just start again. Okay. But if you've got a sheen on it, you can still work on it. It's when you lose the sheen that you can't work on it anymore, and you will end up with, well, you'll end up with all sorts of problems. So just be very careful. If you're not sure, let it dry and then re-wet it and start again. Okay. So now we've got the base layer down for the whole of this body. Just softening in this end bit here, this edge. So I want that to sort of, it's sort of a disappearing edge really, but we need some colouring because we've not got a background on this bird. So there we go. There you are. So that's there. Now, if you want to leave it as not as a detailed piece, you could just leave it like that. It's like an impression of a barn owl, but I want to put some detail in. But I'm not going to be putting great amounts of detail in, just small amounts. As I say, I don't want it to be over detailed. I just want to make sure. I'm just going to make sure we get some of these white feathered details here in properly. Just at the bottom. Okay, and then obviously there's going to be some dark bits there as well, which were the burnt umber. But I want them soft. I want them putting in sort of softly, really, not. Some of them are quite dark. So it's where the shadows are, where obviously feathers go over each other. So it's just a case of putting those shadows in. And sort of making sure I can define some of those areas, those some of the little smaller ends of the feathers. Okay, it's a darker shadow around there, so I'm just going to adjust that, and I'm just going to put some colour on, and then what I shall do, get the size 4, make sure it's damp, not wet through, and then I'm just going to soften these bits in a bit more, because that is really quite a dark shadow under there. I want it to soften away in there nicely. That's better. Okie dokie. So I'm just still topping up these little sort of layers of feathers that we have here. I'm trying to give them some shape so that we can actually see where they are. Because right at the bottom you can actually pick the detail of them out. So you can see there, it's easier to lift it up. You can see that we have got the detail in a bit better there of the actual shape of the feather, the feathers in the disc. Okay, and then it fades out as we go back out. Okay, so let me move that. It's got gouache on it, I don't want it all over. So now we're coming to these areas. These are drying out nicely now. So we're going to do what we did here on the head is what we're going to do on there. So there is no none of the blue bit at the top, so it is all of these 3 shades, which I've still got in my I've still got them here in my palette. So I'm going to start with the lightest colour, and I'm just going to, again, using a stippling motion. Now here it's a little bit more blurry, it's not quite as detailed, you haven't got many details in that section. I'm actually going to go down to a smaller brush now. Go to the number 1. Okay. And again, I'm just going to stipple like we did before. So where you see, but leave some of this underneath layer showing, so that we can add, we're going to be adding layers and darkening it and what have you, so we can get the detail in. And that bit comes down here. Okay. Now it's not going to have to be exactly the same. You don't have to do it. I'm sort of creating as much of this bird as I can, but I'm not going to get it exactly right, but get it more or less right. So what we're doing now is we're putting on the lightest layer, and I'm doing it by a stippling motion, and that's because I'm trying to create the texture on the bird's feathers, which is very similar to the one that's on his head. So he's got quite some, his feathers are quite detailed, but they look very textured as well. So that is the bit that we're sort of looking for, and then what I'm going to do is here, I'm just going to, because it's like you can see where it comes down into the wing there, causes a little bit of a shape there. Okay. And then here is where there we go. So again, I've done the stippling effect, and then I'm just going to do the same on this side. Now this side is a bit darker, so I'm actually just putting them a lot closer together. More of them. Okay. So we stipple that down there, and then down here it starts to get very dark, so I'm actually going to put a lot darker colour down here. Okay, and then I'm just going to space these out because I want it to fade out really. I don't want it to look, so it's just come to a full stop. The same on this side. Okay. Okay, so you can see I've left a few little white patches down there. Now then, we've got this shadow here. So it is actually, comes around that bit there. It's very dark here, so it's quite a line. And then what we're going to do is, when we look at it, it's in a shape. So it's quite dark in there, so stipple where it is really dark, and then using a damp brush, I'm just going to literally, and a number 4 I think, I'm actually just literally going to pull it so it comes out like that. Again, it's just like putting a glaze over it, and it's just going to soften it, and there we go. And then obviously I'm just going to cover some of these pencil marks which are giving me the direction of the feathers, so I want to make sure we get some of those darker, longer feathers, clumped feathers, and then soften them in with some water, or damp brush should I say. There we go. Okay, so we can see that there now, that's where his Soften that away there. But we've also got that dark section here on this side as well. So I've got a bit of a dark section there. And then we have some dark sections just here where the wing feathers fold into the body. So it's just creating a bit of a shadow there. Okay, so again, just damp your brush, just soften those edges away. We don't want hard edges, we just want soft edges. There we go. So you've got the shadows on both sides now. So now what we need to do is we just need to add some of the darker colours into this. So we've got some dark colours up here. So again, I'm just going back to being stippling. But on here, they're close together because it's not very detailed. It sort of disappears here. And then here. So they're not quite as defined as up on the head. Because here what we're going to be doing is putting quite a lot of black in as well, or very dark grey. But I just want to get these mid-tones and lighter tones in first. So I'm just so we've got the very light tone in, we've got some mid-tone, and now I'm just putting in a bit of a darker mid-tone before I put the really dark tone in. Okay, so that's that side. I'll do this side. As I say, the detail isn't that important at the minute, it's just getting... But this side of the wing is quite dark, so the stippling will be very close together. And then as you come in towards the wing section, you'll actually come out a little bit more. There we go. There. So that's that one. So I'm just going to let this dry a little bit now. So while it's drying, it gives you an opportunity to take a look around. And if you see any parts that need adjusting or softening, now's the ideal time to actually do that. Oh, excuse me. So I'm just going to put a few bits of feather directions in here where the shadows are, just to sort of add a little bit extra detail in there. Okay. So I'm using the point of the brush, and like before, I'm just putting it on and then flicking it off. Now these feathers are a little bit longer down here, so, and then some of these want to be flicked up. These are where the wing shadow comes from, so you can flick them up into the bird. Create a bit more shadow, like that. And feathers change direction around here. Okay. Soften that edge off a little bit. There we go. So there we are, we're starting to take shape now. So what I'm looking at now is I'm going to go to the smaller brush, and I'm going to go to my French Ultramarine and Burnt Sienna, mixed up very thick on the small brush, tap it on my cloth, and then looking, I've got some black spots. So now it's just a matter of putting on these sort of real random type markings onto the bird, but you still need to look at your reference to sort of get an idea of where most of them are. Okay, get some odd ones along here, a couple of odd ones there, and then we've got where the brown touches the white sort of the feathers. We've got some larger, so you've got some areas where you've got the larger markings, and then you've got sort of sections here where it's just a mass of small dark markings. So I'm just using a small brush, fairly thick paint, and using the very tip of the brush, you can put in these markings. And look at the shape what these patterns make. Make sure you've still got some of the browns showing through. And then what we'll also be doing is putting some of the whites back in again if we need to. So I'm just carefully watching the reference photograph and putting in these markings where I think they belong and where I can see them more prominently. Okay. There. And then on this side we've got some that are coming round here, which are actually sort of dividing the neck up a little bit. And some that go up the side of the head there. And then we've got a few on this side. There's not many on this side because I say it's only the very edge of the feather, the wing. So I'm just going to put in some indications of these markings, but nothing. There we go. Okay. Now we'll go back. So while that's drying, I'm just going to go back to this gouache. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to put in a few little white dots where the black dots are, which adds a little bit more strength to them. Like that. And here where we've got quite a bit of white feather marking, so I'm just going to dot that in, stipple that bit in. I think we've missed quite a bit of it off here, so here there's some white. So I'll just stipple that section in there. Okay, and we've got bits of white in there. And as I say, as this white dries, if you add too much water to it, it will sort of lose its strength. So you may have to add some more to it. But then, on the other hand, if it's too thick, then you may have to put some other colour over the top, which you can do, it's ideal. But as I say, when you're mixing them, keep them separate in the palette because they don't mix very well. Okay. That's it. And then I can see around here we have got some white feather markings that sort of separate the neck from the body as such. So I'm just going to create some white markings there. And the same on this side. Okay. And then once that's dried, which won't be long, a couple of seconds, then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to have a quick look at it, and then what I shall do is I'll just do a quick glaze over it. So I can see that there is some reddish, purpley grey again. Using a bit of rose madder in the French ultramarine. And create a purpley grey. So that here, got some purple greys in there. Okay. There we go. There we go for his beak. I'm just making some final adjustments there, so that I'm happy with it. A bit more red colour here and here, and then soften that in. That's better. Also just a little bit more of the reddy colour here. And again, soften that in, just gently tap in. Just gives it that little bit more of a darker shadow where it's supposed to be under there. There we go. There we are. I think it's starting to look really nice now. You can spend as much time or as little time as you want doing these sort of markings. But as I say, I'm trying to just do it sort of, I'm doing it semi-detailed. I'm not doing it fully, totally detailed, because it's really, this is a tutorial. I want some people that, you know, look at it and think, oh, there's no chance I'll never be able to do an owl. It's too intricate. But I want you to have a go. And by simplifying the shapes, because that's what it's about. It's looking for shapes, tones, and the hues that's in there, the different hues, and really creating something. So you can imagine that, you know, when you're putting the feathers on, you've got to imagine them coming around the bird's face. So follow that direction. Simplifying the details, but just enough so that you can see what it's supposed to be. So, you know, I'm quite happy with this at the minute. And I think that's where I'm going to leave it for now. So I'm hoping you've enjoyed doing it. We'll zoom in a little bit so you can see the body a bit more. There we go. Okay, you can see all these nice little white feathery bits that's coming over the top, and then his head. So if we zoom back out now, there you go. And you can see that that is his nose sticking out and the rest of it is going backwards. And it's about colour mixing, so you do need to learn a little bit about colour mixing. Now, an owl is a warm looking bird, but even so, you know, the whites, the right bright white on his nose, bridge of his nose, if you keep that light, then that'll push everything else backwards. And that's where you start to get the 3D effect. And there you've got the wing that's tucked in here to his body. And then that's the other wing on the other side, showing slightly more. So there you have it. That's your owl. I'm hoping you enjoy doing it as much as I've done. It's a while since I've done watercolour, to be honest, but I've actually quite enjoyed it. So I'll see you in the next project. But this is the owl, the barn owl. So you've got one on this side. So I've put them both, as I say, that the images that you get will be A4. But what I've done is I've just actually put them both onto, whoops, let me get some of that off. So what I've done is I've got a pen and wash one that I did, the earlier project, which was just a quick project. And then I put the bird's face and just the beginning of his body there and done that in a pure watercolour. And then obviously we've got the barn owl. So this is a study page of barn owls, really. But it's enjoyable and it's something that you can keep and you can do for different subjects. And it helps you to start getting used to placing things and looking for compositions and things like that. But also to learn a bit about the subject that you are painting or drawing, whichever. Because learning about the subjects as well is all part and parcel of it. And if you learn and understand something of the animal or bird that you're painting, you'll find that some of that goes into this bird as well. I mean, I've tried to create the look that I was seeing on the barn owl across the road when he was nesting and when they were feeding, and it was a very busy time for them. And I'm just glad that we did our little bit to save them from the nest being destroyed. And the young ones have fledged now, so that means there's some more little barn owls wandering around there. But I will be doing some more of the owl family. There's lots of owls, different owls, so I will be doing some more of them. But I'll be doing them in various media. I'll do some watercolour, some more pen and wash, and some pencil and some graphite. So yeah, just relax and try and enjoy it. you know, and it's a good beginner's one, and it's learning you how to show white feathers and white fur, because they're not easy to do, but by adding the other colours you can stick out, but you can tell that is supposed to be white. But there's no such colour as white or black anyway. Okay then, well, thank you for watching, and if you want to post some of your images up for me to have a look at, that you're more than welcome. And I hope you enjoy doing the tutorial. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.